Go.
Good morning, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Tech Impact number 10.
10, wow.
We've gotten to 10, man. And it's really cool to be back. Always a pleasure to sit with you, Jean-Luc.
Thank you.
Talk about some stuff. And let's do the introductions as usual.
Hi, as previously mentioned, my name is Jean-Luc. I've had an interest in tech my entire life. I'm currently a student at the University of Aruba. And Dad?
My name is Bruce Harms. In the tech space, creative space, creating websites, consulting, and all that good stuff. And Cardano advocate, an adoption advocate. And but Jean-Luc, before we get into, we're going to talk today about Cardano. I want to go through the Cardano 360. You know what that is?
Isn't that the monthly live stream where they give us updates on the entire ecosystem?
Yeah, exactly. And we'll be sharing that today in a couple of minutes. But before we go there, interestingly, how is it, because you're already working in technology now, so you told me this morning, right? So
ish, yeah.
Ish. So right now you're setting up virtual reality, for example.
Pretty much,
and
yes.
Guiding people through that experience.
Yes.
And you're
it's
gonna
very
probably
funny.
Go ahead. Share.
There are
some tidbits.
Yeah. The funniest one must be how immersed people get.
Right.
Yeah, they get. Yesterday, actually, there was a person who was playing this game called Super Hot, right?
Yeah, we talked about Super Hot.
Yes, and for those who don't know, Super Hot is a game where only when you move as the player does time move, and it is your goal to go ahead and unalive some enemies that are trying to unalive you in the game.
Right.
And you're given obstacles, you're given environments, and there was this person who was playing that. Amazing, was doing great, especially for a first timer, as far as I knew. And he was leaning against a car, like in the game. He was all the way on the ground, and then he reached for it, and he fell almost on his face because he thought he was going to be able to lean in the car in the game.
Oh, wow.
So you see this man just leaning with the controllers in hand, and all of a sudden he just pops over. Poor man.
Yeah. So it's always going to be funny when you see people from the outside, right?
Yes, of course. You look absolutely silly outside, as always, but you feel badass while you're playing the game.
Yeah.
And that's just one of them. The other is just how scary it is for some people as well.
Yeah, right?
They have full hesitation. They move like arms close to them.
Because they don't, you might feel unsafe because you know if you're gonna hit something, right? So
True, even
there might be
though-
some kind of claustrophobic effect of having the goggles on and you're gonna touch something. And let me give a
Maybe.
shout out to Mr. Bruce, another Bruce Stomper. Greetings from us. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, so that was kind of funny. And have you played where you're doing that?
Yes, actually, so that I know how the sensors work and if everything is going well.
How the reaction time?
Yes,
you know,
yes.
Is frame rate, right, and reaction, is that something important? I mean,
It's less so the frame rate in this case. So for the people who don't know, frame rate within video games, especially when it comes to very fine-tuned movement and very precise stuff, for example, in high-level fighting games,
right.
if somebody, for example, lags, that means that it takes all of a sudden longer for an input to be recognized and then for it to go. Or if your frame rate goes up, which means you don't see the actual animations going on that you need to see, that could ruin your experience because it is a sudden disjointed experience that comes out of nowhere, right?
Practical example, Street Fighter, modern Street Fighter, 2021, or Mortal Kombat, when people understand that a certain attack is in 6 frames or 4 frames and 3 frames, which means they're very fast.
Yes.
And then you have slower moves that are more powerful that you can be punished for, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that also counts in virtual reality. It's the same thing, same kind of concept.
I would actually say no. What counts is that your system, so your controllers and your camera, is constantly communicating with the sensors.
Right.
Because if they're not communicating, that's when, if you move in reality, it doesn't happen in virtual reality, and then that could be an extremely
Yeah, but that's the same thing then.
experience.
So there's a lag.
There is a lag, yeah, but it's not within frames, but it's more within synchrony.
Right. I remember I used to play Guitar Hero, right? And Guitar Hero, I've played it on the Xbox, which was not Guitar Hero, was another one called, it was the competitor. Was a bit different. And I played it on the Wii.
Yeah.
And I remember that I was so used to the Wii because there was a lag. So the timing was different.
Oh.
So there was this rhythmic timing that when I started playing on the Xbox, which was a bit faster, I couldn't, it took me a while to adjust back on the timing because I sort of compromised on the lag. Yeah, very, very interesting. And in Splatoon, I'm an avid Splatoon player.
As previously mentioned.
Yeah, and sometimes when the internet connections, you'll be playing, and then all of a sudden the person is here, then all of a sudden you're dead, and he's over there, and you're like, and then you curse, you fucking lag. Yeah, okay. So, I wanted to talk about that, and you're doing some data input somewhere. We can't really mention what kind of data input, but
not yet. No.
You're already helping out with digitalization of data, right? So that's also interesting. Interesting, huh? What these jobs are becoming for your age group.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Okay, so guys. So the title for today's show is going to be Cardano 360, and I'll be sharing that in a few minutes. While we're talking, Cardano 360 is let's call it a 360 info panorama on what's going on in the Cardano space.
You could say that.
And I was watching it this morning, so I was catching up a bit for the show. I mean, it is huge, and I wanted to talk a bit why I think right now in September we'll probably see a value spike. Let's go through it. Alonzo, you know what that is?
If I remember correctly, Alonzo is the fork of the ADA coin within the Cardano ecosystem.
Yeah, so I think very interestingly, yes, they are hard forking again. And as Charles explained, they're going to be going through these color schemes from white to blue, from blue to white to purple, and that's how they're segmenting changes and capabilities that they're going to give to different facets of the Cardano ecosystem. What I would like to mention is that it really affects developers, right, and stake pool operators, and what they'll be able to do later on. and I think it's going to help them with data and capability. And there's also a beautiful chart on how that software ecosystem is connected all the way around, all the way to the ledger, and to the interfaces that operators have access to.
So I see you have the Alonso page open.
Right.
Can you tell us what changes it brings?
Well, I have it right here.
All right.
I've written it down. So right now we're at the Alonso White, which is very important for the smart contract capabilities. And here are a list of things that I will mention. And we don't know all of their meanings because we're students of blockchain and Cardano, but I'll get through it. So right now what they're going to be doing, they're going to be extending the ADA architecture, which I think is a combination of things, software and hardware and stuff like that. Wallet backend integration is coming right now in Alonso. There's going to be a Rosetta API. You know what an API stands for? Application Programming Interface, which is what that really means is the ability for other technologies to connect, right? So usually in my business, in web development, if I want to integrate a payment system, usually I will have to get my developers to get the API from that other party, right? There's also going to be an Explorer and something called GraphQL. We're just going to go through it. We're going to throw it out there without really knowing what they are. But as we go, we'll learn. There's also going to be, they've developed exercises for testing. So
cool.
What I think that is if you're testing on the testnet to make sure that everything is okay or running smoothly, they have several exercises to make sure that that is running correctly. So when you do encounter problems, it will not come from the testnet. It will come from, probably your code. There are some exchanges coming in.
Cool.
Yeah, because the capability will broaden, and I think that has a lot to do with the architecture. There's also the capability that you can copy the testnet and test locally outside of the testnet that's within the worldwide network.
All
right.
right.
I think if you say testnet and then you have mainnet, right? And mainnet is where everything is. So when I'm using Daedalus, I'm on the mainnet.
Yes.
And then there's a testnet where you can't. It's safety, I think, right? And then, interestingly, the community is also improving the documentation of Alonso. So yeah, that very interesting, I think, for people in the development space. But overall, it's going to extend the utility. You're right?
I just yawned without yawning.
Okay. Here at Tech Impact, you can yawn, Jean-Luc. Just relax, let it happen.
Thank you.
Right. So, we're gonna have to dive in there and learn a little bit more about it. But I think once we start our process of becoming a stake pool operator, we're gonna get a little bit more in tune with the capabilities.
I would like to clarify that I yawned not because it was boring, but it's because late
No,
work
I
hours.
know, buddy. I know,
For
buddy.
the viewers out there.
Your age group wakes up a bit later and is very active online at night.
Yes.
And we parents have to wake up a bit earlier, so that's fine. That's cool. I was your age once too. Let's continue a little bit for some other news. Very interestingly, at the Cardano 360, they talked about something called C Fund.
C Fund?
Yeah, and
Funding C?
I guess Cardano Fund,
Oh, Cardano Fund.
Yeah,
Okay,
and C Fund is a IOHK, which is Charles Hoskison's company.
The development team.
That anchors Wave Financial, which is the company that offers funding for projects using the Cardano blockchain.
So what's the difference between Project Catalyst and this? Because Project Catalyst is Cardano's way of funding projects that work on the
I think that's a
blockchain.
great question, and I'm not able to answer it from the perspective of Cardano. But you know what I think personally? I think because the Project Catalyst has a lot of governance and community, and there might be a bit of red tape. And I can imagine a group of people out there that are very good at proposing projects in a very rigid, financial manner, like a business plan.
Yeah.
And I think this might be another way of doing things that might be quicker for certain people and doesn't have to go through the voting process.
Quickly explain what a red tape is.
Well, a long process before you get somewhere, right? So, for example,
Usually legal.
if you want to start a NV on Aruba, there's red tape. It's going to take a while because you want the NV, you've got the 3,000 guilders to pay for it, but then you have to go through that process at the notaris, and that is never shorter than 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow.
Because that's how that works.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that Project Catalyst has those kind of issues, maybe
governance,
that experience for some people that it might just be taken to. I have that. I thought, this is a bit, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And if I would have the capacity to make a proposal, a full-blown business plan, I might choose to go to C Fund, maybe. Oh, and by the way, they are targeting specifically NFT and DeFi projects.
Interesting. Because I was going to mention that maybe C Funds is designed for also real life projects, because almost all of the projects on Project Catalyst is to add to the blockchain, right?
Well,
just
no,
to expand it.
I'll go further. I think it's about Cardano in its full capacity. So they have projects that are about simple adoption, right, and marketing. So the content creators can go to Project Catalyst, but content creators cannot go to C Fund. But programmers, right, let's say very experienced developers that decide, hey, you know what, I want to do something really cool with Cardano. I've got this great idea. I actually have a plan, right? Maybe C Fund is a better option because it's a little bit more straightforward. I don't know.
But this is all new, and I'm pretty sure that as time goes on, we will see more and hear more from it.
Yeah, exactly. And well, if I can quote it right here, so what is C Fund? C Fund is an early stage sector agnostic venture firm in the blockchain industry, anchored by IOHK and managed by Wave Financial, like I previously mentioned. The firm is a dedicated team of investors and entrepreneurs zealous about blockchain technology and digital assets, looking to back ambitious founders globally. Well, reading this sentence, I'll add another layer that if you say investor and entrepreneurs, you're saying people that have a bit of cash that wouldn't mind investing in cool projects. So that's already reason enough for it to exist outside of Project Catalyst, right? So you just have a bunch of Bitcoin and you're saying, you know what, I would like to turn this Bitcoin into Cardano. Let's do something.
Yeah.
You have an idea, bring it to us. You know? And pretty traditional if you think about it.
It is.
Right?
If it works, don't fix it.
And why? And the next question would be, why would IOHK, if they have a Project Catalyst, and here you have an answer. IOHK is a technology and research company that developed the Cardano blockchain and ADA cryptocurrency. In today's rapidly expanding blockchain sector, Cardano is seen as a world leader in sustainable proof-of-stake blockchain technology behind smart contracts. Well, that's a mouthful, but that's exactly what it is. They're also focusing on DeFi. Sorry, I said DeFi. DeFi and identity solutions.
Identity solutions?
Yeah. So to accelerate the adoption of the Cardano blockchain technology, IOHK partnered with a world-class asset manager, right? So they're just taking another route, another alternative route that can reap great projects. And hey, if people want to invest in Cardano, I would jump all over it if I was Charles. So I think it's pretty cool. And going back on those two things, right? So Cardano Africa. Right, we talked about that a while back, and I was so blown away by that blockchain deal. But as time goes by, I'm starting to realize that digital identity is a huge issue globally, right? If you think about it, what is the problem of digital identity?
What would we consider digital identity?
Instead of having a passport and having for example, Sophie number, right? We have a persoonsnummer, which is sort of our digital identity. That number goes in all these databases.
Someone, right? It is possible then for somebody to go into the databases and just grab the numbers and use it as much as they want.
Well, let's go towards the problems. The problems of digital identity is trust. Trust. Yes. Trust is the problem. How is your information being used? And you have no idea what is happening with your digital identity, right? It's almost as if my number, what is happening in the Belastingdienst, what is happening everywhere, you don't know. But you're trusting that they're not abusing, right? Yeah. So I think that's an overall. And another thing is, some people wouldn't want digital identity, right?
Do you want anonymity?
Because when you think about the digital space, you think about all the horrible things that can happen with identity theft. Yeah. Right. So theft is an issue. There's also people being imposters, like, you know, acting to be people. That is easy to do.
That happens all the time.
Right. So all they need is my number and my picture online, and somebody can act like he's Bruce Harms somewhere in Singapore or in, you know. So I feel like digital identity is this frontier where blockchain can give that kind of solution where people will trust it a bit more because it is decentralized. And if you understand decentralization, it's all about negating the third party and having the technology and the protocol and the ledgers and, you know, the programming and the cryptography, keeping it safe.
Yeah.
So I think Charles is onto something here. And
pretty smart.
To be honest, going about e-government, which is going to happen.
If you're going to have an e-government, you should have solutions for the digital identity problems, yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in open source, and because we talked about that already, so I don't have to stipulate, or we can recap. So open source are projects that the community has access to the back end, the code. And it's supposed to be improved upon, right? And Cardano is a open source project. And I think that in Web3, the future, digital identity, Cardano will be on the leading edge of providing a trustworthy solution that people can trust. And they're doing it already, going back to Africa. So,
they are, yeah.
Segueing back to Africa, they're going to onboard 700,000 teachers now.
Wow, into the system?
Into the system.
So
was it 700,000?
A brief reminder to the listeners who might not know what's currently going on in Ethiopia.
So in April, Cardano signed the biggest blockchain deal with the Ministry of Ethiopia, the Ministry of Education in Ethiopia, where they're going to onboard about 5 million students. Now they're in the phase, and this is the Cardano 360, where they're onboarding lagere school. What's that again in English? Elementary school.
Elementary,
right? And they will be getting tablets, and through a certain software, I think it's called Prism, on the top of my head. Correct me if I'm wrong, public, and we can check it out later. And that software will be the portal towards digital ID, but also their academic performances.
Nice.
And through advanced data science techniques, that should be used in the future for job acquirement and transparency, because it seems that in Africa they have huge issues with fraud, with fraudulent diplomas and fraudulent education. But of course, because it's sort of right now, Wild West. They don't have those third-party organizations that do the checking that the Western world does. And the Western world, we've got many organizations that are doing the control, the checking, making sure that we're not fraudulent. And they just can't wait for that infrastructure. There's too many people, and things need to happen quickly. And so that's a little bit about Africa. In the Cardano 360, they move on. And they talk about that partnership with World Mobile. You know remember who that was?
World Mobile?
Yeah, so...
Completely forgot. My bad.
It's fine. So that's why I'm here today and doing the research. Next week is your turn.
Deal.
World Mobile is the partner to provide connectivity and internet to the community in Ethiopia, so the teachers and everything. So as Charles said very smartly, very simply, you cannot have digital money without network.
I mean, duh.
Well, but I love it how he puts it. It's so simple, right? You cannot have transactions without a network with digital cash. And you know, and that is not exclusive to blockchain or cryptocurrency. That is with
even fiat.
Well, it's an app. It says, it gives a number, and then I send, hey, Jean-Luc, you need gas money. There you go. Boom, boom. Code. There you go.
Yeah.
There will be no, for us, I don't think for a human being, there will not be much of a different experience using cryptocurrency or fiat currency that's represented digitally on a interface. You know,
when it comes to using it, not really.
The experience will be absolutely the same.
Instead of physical address, it's gonna ask for a digital address.
And you know, it's almost, when you really look at it, IOHK and Cardano have targeted Africa in its totality, right? Because those are the kind of people that need it the most. They're unrepresented. They have no IDs. They don't really have access to financial services, right?
Yeah.
And they're not online. So they have the biggest need, and they can, you know, roll it out pretty quickly. And what I thought was very interesting that he said, the internet is no more a luxurious part of our lives.
It isn't a luxury. It's a necessity now.
It's necessity. It's part of the human condition. Right?
I even heard from a family member I met a long time ago who works at Setar, our local mobile company, internet company. What do you call those? Out of all the things.
Telecom, Jean-Luc.
Telecom. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You need coffee.
Yeah, I should have made myself one.
Yeah.
It's our local telecom company. And he said that they realized that at this point, it is a right for somebody to have access to the
human
internet.
Right.
A human right, because
Absolutely.
of how heavily disadvantaged you would be in comparison to the rest of the world and community who has access to the said internet.
Yeah, because what I thought was interesting how our fierce leader puts it, Charles Hoskinson, is the human condition is the internet is where we share our ideas, where we connect and talk to people. It is the driver of good change, of great change, right? So it is the place where a community can have enormous impact on society.
Oh, yeah.
And it is usually the place of freedom, right? Still. And it is a place of economic identity almost, right? So if we think about tech impact, for example, what we're trying to do right now is using a platform and communicate ideas, right? And that's the great thing about SoppyMix. SoppyMix is almost part of great initiatives where people can come talk and help Aruba become better, help the Caribbean become better. And we're using the internet right now for that same reason. And at the same time, starting potentially a business even where, you know, can we make this something that we are passionate about and make it sustainable, which is absolutely no crime, right? And a Tech Impact is going to become a place of showcasing projects that we're going to be doing. SoppyMix Kids is a place where they can, you know, explore being in a safe environment with and explain their ideas, and people can't get enough of it. Why? Because we love hearing people speak and tell stories. You know, so I every time I hear these projects come to fruition, I just get a little more excited. You know?
Good.
Yeah. Moving on. You got any more comments on that?
No.
You're in total agreement. Great. All right, guys, let's continue a little bit. I will be splitting the 360 because it's a lot of information.
Of course.
And some of the items, like for example, the Alonso is not something we dominate very well.
It's very heavy on the
you have to have experience.
Technological understanding of the actual blockchain and the entire
Exactly.
system and infrastructure, as previously mentioned.
But here we go. Let's go to something that's a little bit more up our speed, which they talked about investing in the community, right? And you say, yeah, how do you do that? Well, they onboard people that are passionate, that are active in the Cardano forums. And for example, there's now let's call her somebody that's very passionate, that on board, that is now going to create the creative community space where people come together. And that's something you and me should explore, because we have a show about Cardano.
Yeah, of course.
But I want to share some numbers about this community. So, for example, there are right now in that creative community 1,000 stake pool operators that come together to talk and make things better and share their experiences. There are about 1,500 Plutus pioneers, and Plutus is the programming platform,
programming
where people are learning
and platform,
right? And I think about 10,000 people in total that are somehow part of the learning experience and the community that are coming together to push adoption and Cardano as a technology.
An active participant.
Yeah, and if you think about that, right? If you think about Cardano as a platform and compare it to other alternative coins, if you look at the ecosystem, like the chart that I showed last week, right? So all these organizations, companies, investors, and now when you look at the community, how can we not have faith in a value growth and that it's not a scam? Right? There's so much out there.
Yeah.
And what I want to talk about now, that's something you have experience with, and then I kind of want to segue out in a shorter show of 40 minutes today, is they also support great projects that are becoming successful because of its open sourceness. I can give it an adjective, and community driven. So let's talk about GitHub. Yeah, what experience do you have with GitHub?
Struggling to find the download button.
Yes. Well, there's always an unpack button.
There's always an unpack.
These
specific
what
files.
Is this? What are these files?
I go down the rabbit hole. I'm like, wait, this isn't the file I'm looking for. I need to go back
So you use GitHub for what? For mining? For mining software?
No, yes, I've used GitHub to download the mining software, but because I play games, 90% of all mods are available on GitHub as just open source, of course.
Yeah.
And because of my general interest in customizing my personal experience, that would, of course, lead somebody down the road of becoming slightly familiar with GitHub as much as one can be. Without being like an avid programmer.
Well, I've been doing these Raspberry tutorials, and I've been also exploring. For example, I think it's called Berry Pool. And he sort of has a tutorial on how to make a stake pool server on the Raspberry.
Cool.
And it's on GitHub. So I already went there, downloaded all the materials. I think if you're interested in programming and want to learn, GitHub is a great resource.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
That's how I want to word things. GitHub is a place where people voluntarily or actually use it as a place of, hey, I've got this idea and I've been working on it, and would you want to join me and help me? Right? And then it's got the interface where they put the resources, the code, and whatever.
People can comment, people can add suggestions and everything.
Yeah, it is so cool. And I would like to see the Aruban programming community start going there too, We'll see as we move along. It's going to be an interesting year. And then I want to talk about Discord. So right now Cardano has a Discord server where they're going to organize it a bit better, and it's going to be a meeting place for SPOs, so stake pool operators, development, and for learning. And they're going to put all their resources there in combination with GitHub. So
nice.
What we're going to do, guys, is probably we're going to join that Discord as Tech Impact, and hopefully get some people on the show. So we're going to be asking Jeff to, set up an internet connection through a laptop later on. Right, Jeff? That's how we do it, no? We do it with a laptop? Yeah, we're getting a thumbs up. And yeah, it's very exciting right now. And I think also for Aruba, since we're gonna now go into a phase of, we're going back to normal. Well, I watch out with the word normal, but it seems to be that we're starting to live with these realities. And within this reality, there's great innovation coming. So we have to take a positive spin on things and not to get too political, because we don't have to live politically to make a difference, right? So I'm excited. I want to segue now to ending. Let's just end the show. We've got a 35-minute show today, guys. Nice and short.
Nice and simple, but a lot of information.
A lot of information. I'm gonna, when we close, I'll be sharing the links for everybody that's interested. And keep your eyes out. We will be doing a workshop very soon after the vacation. We want to do a how to have Cardano and make it available and let people use the Yoroi wallet.
Yoroi, okay.
Yeah, and even showcasing what we're going to be doing with the decentralized alliance. Oh, and moving on, last thing, there is a free Cardano summit. It's global in September. It's for free. You can go to summit.cardano.org and register for free. If you have any interest in Cardano, I've gotten some PMs, some personal messages of people that are very interested in Cardano. Let's do it together.
To repeat, it's summit.cardano.org.
And if we get enough people, we would love to watch it together and find a venue and just go do it. We have plenty of partners that we can get to go watch it. And let's close with that. Cardano Summit 2021. This, I think, is September. And I've already registered, and so should you.
I will.
All right. So with that, guys, let's give it a goodbye.
Thank you guys very much for watching.
And see you on Tech Impact 11 next week.
Have a nice weekend.
Have a nice weekend.